guys, my name is Abby and welcome back to a new video. For today's video, we're actually not making a dress this time, though I guess it's pretty close to being a dress. For today's video, we are going to be making a two-piece summer set. I don't really work with a lot of dark colors. I definitely like more pink pastel colors, but I saw this really pretty fabric at Joann's and I bought it, and I had just been hoarding it in my fabric stash. And then one night at school, over winter break, I just decided I can't sleep, so I'm gonna make this set. I was definitely really inspired by like the Coquette doll lacy girls, so I tried to create a cute little set like that with lace and bows. And definitely I tried something new at the top, and definitely was a learning process. But overall, it's really cute and I can't wait to wear it for the summer. So join me as we make the set and reveal it at the end. This time, I actually switched it up and began with the skirt. I was still unsure of how I wanted the top to turn out, but was very confident that I wanted to make a pleated skirt. Since the fabric goes one way, I had to be mindful of how I cut out my pieces, and since the width of the fabric was not long enough and making two rectangles would be too much, I had to play with how long to make each of the rectangles, but they still ended up being just a bit too long, and I had to safety pin the back of the skirt in order for it to fit my waist better. Once I had two rectangles long enough, I cut one in half and sewed each of those halves to the second one. I don't really know if I've ever explained why I do this, but this is so that the two seams from connecting the rectangles will be on the sides with the opening in the back, and no seams down the front of the skirt, which helps make it look more put together and professional. I sewed them together and then serged down the seam allowance and side raw edges. And then to make the pleats, I marked out every inch and a half and then connected the pins together to make the sunray pleats that I wanted, but then I also decided to pin down each pleat 6 inches and sew it down so that way the pleats would help keep their shape and not wrinkle. To make the waistband, I folded my fabric in half as well as my skirt, and then I held my skirt up to the fabric and marked where to cut to make sure that the waistband would fit my skirt perfectly. I ironed down the raw edges on both sides of my waistband and then folded it in half and ironed that as well to help it keep its shape while I sewed it to the skirt. Then, taking my skirt, I inserted it into the waistband, having it cover up the top raw edge of the skirt, and then pinned it down with my zipper. I made sure to pin the zipper in between my waistband and skirt to help cover the top edge of the zipper, and then I pinned the bottom of the skirt underneath the zipper and then sewed that up as well as sewing down the zipper all together. Once the zipper and back end of the skirt were all sewn together, it was now time to sew my waistband. To help keep the waistband flat and pressed, I sewed down both the top and bottom of the waistband, and then I did a rolled hem along the bottom of the skirt. To add in some more decoration, I also sewed down some black lace along the bottom of the hem, and then the skirt was done and it was now time for the top. I decided to make the top a tie front top with a ruffle along the bottom, so I first began by cutting out oval-like shapes for the bust part, making the bottom part of the oval flat. For the back of the top, I cut out a rectangle and then sewed each of the bust part to each end of the back rectangle, repeating this for the lining. Then, to make the ruffle for the bottom, I cut out strips of fabric and then sewed them together, serging down the seam allowance and bottom edge, and then gathering the top edge by hand to make it fit the bodice and sewing down the side edges. Now for the sleeves, I wanted the sleeves to be cap sleeves, so I cut out a sort of elongated oval shape, making sure that the widest part of the oval would be on top of my shoulder, and then serged down the sides of the straps. Folding in that new serged edge, I sewed down a black lace trim on either side, the same one I used for my skirt, and then taking the ruffle, I gathered it to the bottom of the bodice, right sides together, and then also attached the lining bodice on to cover up those raw edges. To make the ties that would tie in the front, I cut out 2 rectangles and then folded them into fourths to tuck in the raw edge, as well as one of the side edges that would be out for the end of the tie. Once that was done, I went back to the bodice and folded down the raw edge and inserted in the straps. On the bust part only, I inserted in some black lace along the top edge, then inserted in the tie straps on the sides of the bust pieces. Once everything was all pinned down, I top stitched the entire bodice, and then the set was complete.